wanted to put together this video clip. One day I was actually at home, and obviously there's all these different commercials on TV that talk about different types of investments, and different companies are pushing different products. I saw this commercial on TV regarding gold and a rationale for buying gold. And when I saw this commercial, it reminded me a lot of other commercials that I've seen, and it triggered something in me. And I wanted to share this video that I saw, and then I'm gonna kind of explain some of my thoughts behind it. But you're gonna understand that the idea behind this video is understanding what I call sins of omission. And as we get through the video afterwards, I'm gonna give you my take on what some of my thought processes are, and maybe some things that you should consider when you do see advertisements on different financial products, or maybe somebody's pitching you a product. I want you to watch this, and then I'm going to give you my input and then talk about it in other aspects as well.
As the original host of Wheel of Fortune, I was blessed to be part of building one of the greatest game shows in history. During that time, we handed out millions of dollars to thousands of contestants. And I thought, what if we paid the contestants their winnings in gold instead of cash and prizes? Back in 1976, we had a wonderful contestant named Lee, whose 3-day winnings were valued at $12,850. And you know what? That was a pretty big haul back in 1976. So I wondered, what would have happened if Lee had put $12,850 in cash and then put $12,850 in gold in a safe, just sitting there side by side from 1976 until now? Well, I went back and I ran the numbers, and what I found was amazing. We all know that $12,850 in cash would still be sitting there, but it would be worth a whole lot less than it was in 1976. But that $12,850 in gold, safely stored away, it's worth $135,000 as of the taping of this commercial. Now, that's more than 10 times the original amount.
And since the taping of this commercial, the price of gold has increased substantially to more than 15 times the original amount.
And that's why I've been putting my money in precious metals for years, and I don't see any reason to stop now.
There may never be a better time to start diversifying your assets with physical gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. Get started today by calling to request our newest and most comprehensive information on why diversification with physical gold is more important than ever before.
Here's the big point that I want to make regarding a video such as this. When I use the term sins of omission, let's think about things logically. Anybody using gold as an investment or any type of investment, if I'm going to take $12,000 of cash, I'm never going to put it in a safe as an investment. If we're going to compare gold to investments, and an investment that has done well over time, why are we comparing that investment to cash in a safe? Anybody that puts cash in a safe knows that that's not going to produce a rate of return. So then my brain goes to, well, is there a rationale? They're claiming this investment is a great investment and has done well from 1976 to 2020, roughly, let's just say 44 years. It's done so well. If it's done so well, why are we comparing it to cash in a safe that produced no results? What would happen if we change that around and we said, let's compare apples to apples? Why are they not comparing gold to something simple as S&P 500? If I put money in gold in the S&P 500 back in 1976, and I put the same amount of money in the S&P 500, again, nothing fancy. It's not like I'm picking a high flyer stock or anything like just the S&P 500. Now, all of a sudden, instead of getting 10 times the returns, maybe it's 20 times the returns, 30 times the returns. Why aren't they comparing it to that? Why aren't they comparing it to a CD that, we know is 100% safe? Whatever money you put in there is FDIC insured. Did that produce better than gold over that time? My point is, when it comes to sins of omission, we can make anything sound good. And when I looked at those dates that they used and just researching it on the internet, CDs, treasuries, outproduced it over that particular period of time. Comparing in the 80s, CDs did, roughly 13% rate of return. The other thing that they do when it comes to investments is they can actually pick a time period that makes their particular product look shiny. So, they can say, hey, between this date and this date, look at the return that we got. But then once you go outside of that block, you might realize, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't look as good as what they're claiming it to be. Now, I'm just using this as an example So if I'm going to put cash in a safe, obviously I'm just doing that in case of an apocalypse or emergencies, things of that nature. So if I'm going to put gold in a safe for emergencies, that's fine, or an apocalypse or what. But I'm not going to compare it to cash. And why didn't they compare gold to other precious metals? Did palladium do better? Did copper do better? I don't know. I didn't do the research on that. But again, it's a scenario where if I compare something that has no return, is this really a fair comparison? And I can take it to other areas too. You'll watch commercials on TV that'll say, you know what, all variable annuities are bad. They have their fees are so high. Now again, I'm not a proponent of variable annuities by no means, or any other investment. I'm a proponent of using the appropriate tool for the right situation. So if somebody on the surface tells you, oh, you know what, you should stay away from this particular product because the fees are so high, maybe my question might be, well, what am I getting in return for the fees that I'm paying? Now, if it turns out that the fee that you're paying is actually putting that product in a position so that way, if one spouse passes away, they now can replace a shortfall in Social Security, or if, God forbid, there's a loss of pension, this product is actually designed to replace that shortfall in pension, or maybe there's some tax efficiency, or maybe this person has a special needs child, and this particular product, the reason there's a fee in there is because it's actually doing some sort of plan for that particular child, for what we're leaving behind. So we have to look at things as, hey, what am I getting in return for the fee? If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, wonderful. But many of these things that we watch on TV, or many of these commercials that we watch on TV, they don't put things into context. And this is the point that I want to make, is that when you're watching commercials on TV and you see these advertisements, remember, someone is pitching a product, and if you give somebody a hammer, they're going to see everything as a nail. So I'm not saying gold is a bad investment by no means. I'm not saying that mutual funds or stocks, no. What I'm saying is, let's make sure we're using the appropriate tools. Let's make sure that we don't get deceived. Somebody's pushing us a product and they're comparing something that is not apples to apples comparison. I guess that's the big thing here. I can make anything sound good. For example, I saw something on TV that said that New York said that, hey, you know what? They're the safest large city in the country. I'm like, great. The safest large city in the country? What are we comparing this to? Two other cities? Maybe you're on the bottom of the list. So in order to make yourself sound good, you got to say, hey, I'm going to compare myself to the other two cities that happen to be my size or larger that are worse than mine. So instead of telling people, hey, listen, of the 100 safest cities, I'm 97, 98, I'm just going to tell you, hey, I'm going to doll it all up and say, hey, you know what? I'm the safest large city. And again, I would say, well, what are you qualifying as the safest large city? The purpose of this video is to share with you, when you're getting information, make sure you don't take things on the surface. Make sure you do your research. Don't be afraid to get a second opinion. Many times, I've seen advertisements where an investment is talking about how they did 20% return last year, and they want to pitch their investment because they did 20% return last year. Again, sins of omission. Maybe they're not telling you that the year before that, they were actually down 30. Yeah, they're up this year at 20, but last year they're down 30. So overall, maybe you're still down, even though they're up 20 this year, you're still down overall. A lot of these topics that I'm talking about here and all the other videos that we discuss are the same topics that we talk about our workshops and our seminars, just to make you a much more informed consumer, a much more educated consumer, and know how to think and know what questions to ask and what to look out for, so that way you can see things for what they really are. If you have questions about any of these topics that we discuss, or maybe you just have a question about your own particular situation, or you want to just get a second opinion on some advice that you were given, give us a call, toll-free 800-700-1980, or you can click on any of the links on this video, and we'd be happy to offer you, a consultation, or maybe just some free advice on whatever it is that you have questions on. So with that being said, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and please click the like button.